From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Monday, August 29th, 2016. Silver is trading at $18.59 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,319 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $579. Antiwar.com reports, while all the same doubts about being able to take the massive city of Mosul away from a substantial the Islamic State defensive force are still in place, the constant push for tiny swaths of land by both the Iraqi military and the Kurdish Peshmerga has many believing that the push into the city itself is close. Whether that's actually the case or not, however, remains to be seen, and with the Iraqi government having recently sacked their defense minister, adds dramatically to the idea that there simply is not the organization on the ground to carry out a protracted siege so far from their supply lines. A much bigger factor driving both sides to keep pushing into areas on the outskirts of Mosul is that the borders of Iraqi Kurdistan are very malleable, and Kurdish leaders make no bones about the idea that villages north of Mosul that they are taking over aren't just being liberated from the Islamic State, they're being effectively annexed into Kurdistan. This virtually obliges the Iraqi military to keep pushing into the area too, unprepared or not, to try to sack some strategically important targets for themselves, just to keep some of the valuable parts of Iraq's oil industry inside Iraq, since the reality is that anything annexed by Kurdistan may ultimately be lost to Kurdish secession as soon as the war ends. Since the U.S. occupation, the Iraqi government has had to face the reality that Kurdistan could try to secede at any moment. Throughout the war against the Islamic State, Kurdistan has just been growing, making this a bigger and bigger concern. Are you an advocate for free market money? Do you promote Bitcoin as an alternative in a fiat-centric world? Then you need Spendabit in your arsenal, the search engine for things you can buy with Bitcoin. Spendabit aggregates millions of products from thousands of Bitcoin-enabled merchants. Keep your money in the free economy. Visit spendabit.co today. Bitcoin merchants, ask about our merchant suite to reach even more customers. Spendabit.co. UPI reports a bus with an unlicensed driver spun out of control near New Orleans on Sunday, killing 2 people and injuring 41 while taking volunteers to help with flood relief in Louisiana. Spencer Chauvin, St. John the Baptist Fire District Chief, was among those killed in the early morning crash after the chartered bus slammed into him as he was trying to help victims of another accident, according to Louisiana State Police spokeswoman Melissa Mady. 2 other firefighters were injured in the crash, one critically, and a passenger in another vehicle struck by the bus died at the scene, according to the spokeswoman. Mady said the driver, who was unauthorized to drive a commercial vehicle, was in custody and would be booked on suspicion of negligent homicide, reckless driving, and driving without a license. Mady said the firefighters and state police troopers were on the scene to investigate when the bus, also out of control, slammed into the fire truck and a Toyota Camry. A passenger in the Camry was pronounced dead at the scene. The incident started when a speeding pickup truck spun out of control, bouncing from one side of the road to the other before coming to rest along the right lane and shoulder of Interstate 10 near the community of La Place, about 25 miles northwest of New Orleans. The Acadian Ambulance Service said on Twitter it had taken 38 people to hospitals and that a second ambulance company had transported 3 to a hospital. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports Native Americans from reservations across the United States joined the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe's protest against an 1,100-mile, $3.8 billion four-state oil pipeline. Opponents of the pipeline say it could disturb sacred sites and impact drinking water for 8,000 tribal members and millions further downstream. The protest began August 10th when ground was broken near the reservation. 15 people from the Kialagi tribal town in Oklahoma were taking supplies to the protesters. One protester told Tulsa Media, "We just want to be there to support their tribe." Food and water was collected for those sleeping in tents and teepees. Protesters and their supporters are concerned that if the pipeline were to leak, it could contaminate their drinking water and force people to move from their lands. Representatives from Amnesty International have arrived to monitor the response of law enforcement to the protesters. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.